I think this is one of the dangers sometimes in apologetics, that we get so tied up in intellectual arguments that we forget that ultimately Jesus is the reason for our hope. In 1 Peter 3:15, we have the kind of mandate for apologetics in many ways, where Peter says, be prepared to give the reason for the hope that you have, the apologia. But it's interesting that in 1 Peter 1, he tells us what the reason for our hope is, and that is that it's the resurrection of Jesus from the dead that gives us this hope that can never perish, spoil or fade. So Peter isn't assuming that ultimately our apologia is, evidence for, archaeological bits of the Old Testament or whatever, fascinating though that might be, but ultimately it is the person of Jesus. And I think that most questions that people have about God can be brought back in a kind of natural way to the Christian faith and to Jesus. I'll give you a few examples. How do you know God exists? Sure, you can talk about evidence for creation, or you could talk about the moral argument for God, or you could talk about things like that. But ultimately, let's talk about the Word who became flesh, the God who stepped into human history. People ask questions about, how can you believe that your religion is the only way that's right? Again, you could maybe critique the ideas of other religions and worldviews, but ultimately talk about the uniqueness of Jesus. Here is a God who hasn't simply sent a representative, but has come in person. Jesus is not just a great prophet, but he is God in the flesh. And through him, we can discover God personally. Look at the cross and see the unique invitation, not of karma, you get what you deserve, but grace, a God who gives us in Christ what we don't deserve. Or questions about hell, why would a God of love send people to hell? Hang on a minute, this God of love took the hell that we deserve on the cross so that we don't have to. He was willing to do everything possible so that we wouldn't have to go to hell, and invites us through Christ into a relationship with him. I think even questions about sexuality, which are, I think, in Western Europe, the hardest questions to ask, really, we want to bring them back to the context of Jesus at the heart. I'll give you one example of that. I remember speaking at an event, and after the event, a number of students came up to me who hadn't even been in the talk, and they said, what do you think about homosexuality? Now, I knew this was a difficult situation because they had been sent as representatives from one of the societies in the university to ask this question, particularly because I was then going to be quoted in the student newspaper, most probably, and it would go back and it could potentially cause all sorts of difficulties. And so I said to them, look, you and I probably have an idea of what Christians say about this issue of sexuality, but neither of us will really get very far unless we put it in the context of something bigger. Christianity is not primarily a message that says, be straight and get married. Christianity is an invitation into a relationship with the God of the universe shown in Jesus Christ. And a relationship with Jesus Christ will change your life in many ways, and it will challenge your life in many ways. But you'll never begin to understand the Bible's teaching on sexuality unless you see it in the context of a God who's revealed himself in the person of Jesus. So you really need to start there and then work out what the implications might be. And I said the problem with our culture is that Christianity has become defined by its teaching on sexuality, whereas actually Christianity is defined by the person of Jesus, first and foremost, and then from that we look at what the implications might be. At the end of the day, if Jesus Christ is the one who really did live, die, and rise again, what he says about everything matters. If he didn't live, die, and in particular if he didn't rise again, then it doesn't matter what he says about anything, including sexuality. But the question of did he live, die, and did the resurrection take place is an objective question, not a subjective one, to try and bring it back to Jesus, even in those situations. So I think whatever the objection is, in a natural way, we can bring it to the person of Jesus and center our conversations on him.